Hey, what is up guys? My name is Bean, and today I wanted to show you guys the deck that I'm playing in digital Shadowverse. So, I'm a Haven main in digital, have been for a very long time. It's the class I grinded a Grandmaster with, and it's just always really vibed with me, even in metas where it's not really competitive. I actually got to GM in Unlimited using Elana during a meta where Elana Haven had one player, and that was me. But right now, Haven is actually top tier, so let's talk about it. This is Crystallized Haven for the Heroes of Rivenbrandt set. The deck is primarily based on the Crystallized mechanic and charging up Skullfane, as well as using the new gene as a finisher. Pause the video right here to get the deck list, and while you do, why don't you do me a favor and like the video too? You could even hit subscribe, would be pretty cool. This deck is extremely flexible, and the longer you play it, the more you're going to discover these little nuances for how to play it in different situations. I can't cover all of that, this video would be over an hour long, but I'm going to give you a good rundown on the fundamentals for how you want to operate it. In your opening hand, your top priority is getting Skullfane. So if you don't have Skullfane, mulligan everything, try again. The one exception to that is if you have a Bejeweled Shrine, you can hold on to that, but only one of them, because what you can do with that is you can play it on turn 1, which will draw a card, which gives you another chance to get Skullfane, except now you're drawing from a smaller deck, so you have better odds.
This is a blessing.
If you do have Skullfane, I typically prioritize what cards I keep or get rid of like this. Always keep Wingy, because that dude never shows up when I need him. You're going to keep Astolfo because he's good for charging Skullfane. You're going to keep Garuda for the same reason. And if you have a Bejeweled Shrine, you're going to keep that as well. Anything that I didn't just name, you probably drop it. So there's two routes that the game can go from this point. The first route that I'm going to cover is if you didn't draw Skullfane. And believe me, it's going to feel like that happens a lot. So without Skullfane, your main priority is going to be drawing as many cards as humanly possible without maxing out your hand size. We can win if we don't get Skullfane, but it gets really rough. But the good news here is that most of our draw cards are going to give us stacks of Crystallize, which we need 5 of for Wingy, because Wingy is, believe it or not, the main driver of our win condition. Like, here's the thing, you can win without Gene, you can win without Skullfane, you can even sometimes win without Diamond Master. It is a rare game where you win without Wingy. So that's what we're doing right now, is we're charging up Wingy and we are fishing for Skullfane just as hard as we possibly can, because if we get Skullfane, then things start to turn around for us. On the other hand, if you do have Skullfane, we're gonna think a little more and strategize. We're not just gonna slam down draw cards. So the way Skullfane works is he starts off as a 7 cost, but you can accelerate him. His accelerate effect is that for 1 cost, he reduces the countdown of an amulet by 1. But if he destroys the amulet, then you get another Skullfane in your hand. So we only want to use him on amulets with 1 countdown remaining. Your best turn 1 play is Emerald Maiden, because she gives you a stack of Crystallize, and in 2 turns we can use her to charge up Skullfane. By the way, this is going to be easier than re-recording everything. When I say stacks of Crystallize, what I mean is the number of cards you played with their Crystallize effect, which turns them into amulets. There is no actual mechanic in the game called a stack of Crystallize, it's just the terminology that I'm used to. But there's several cards in this deck, like Wingy or Azurite Maiden, where you can click on the card and it will tell you how many times you've crystallized this game. So other alternatives to Emerald Maiden for turn 1 are Bejeweled Shrine to draw a card, and just to get it out because you're going to need it later, or Holy Lightning Bird, or even something like Muse Chester. But a lot of games, you're just going to hit past turn, and that's fine. In fact, your best case scenario is in your opening hand, Skullfane, Garuda, Astolfo. With this hand, on turn 1, you're going to hit past turn. On turn 2, you're going to drop Garuda, and you're going to use Skullfane on Garuda. Then, on turn 3, you're going to drop Astolfo, and then same thing, you're going to use Skullfane on Astolfo. And this is going to draw you a lot of cards. It's going to set you up really great for the mid game. Now you might be thinking, okay, but Astolfo smacks a follower, and my opponent has not put any followers on the board yet. So do I still want to drop Astolfo? And the answer is yes, you do. Because it's going to charge up Skullfane, and in the early game, that's more important than anything else. Couple of caveats here though with Skullfane. Once you have accelerated 4 times across all of your Skullfanes, they start reducing their cost by 4 at the end of each turn. If you have a Skullfane that is 3 or 0 cost, do not use it on an amulet because that will reset the cost back to 7, because the Skullfane that goes into your hand afterwards is a new Skullfane. Also, think about when your Muse Jester is going to come out. Now, if you just need that final stack on Skullfane, and she's the only thing on the board, then yes, 100% use Skullfane on her. However, there are going to be times where you actually want to delay her coming out by a turn because she's going to be more useful next turn than she is this turn. For example, if you're about to drop a big combo and she's going to be part of it. That's not to say that you shouldn't use Skullfane on Muse Jester. Just think about it for a moment before you do. Go, is this the best play for me right now? So now we're getting into the mid game, and let's say hypothetically that you've just gotten the crap beat out of you. You are on the verge of death, and chances are you're gonna be, because Ghost Shadow is big in the meta right now, and that's just kind of what they do. There are gonna be times where you are gonna want to start slamming down amulets and get your crystallized count to 5 out of 5 as fast as possible, so you can play this card, the Azurite Maiden. Now, Azurite Maiden is a little tricky because you have to have those 5 stacks of crystallized for her to be worth anything, but once you do have those 5 stacks, she's incredible value. So she's a 1/2 with ward, which is enough to stop one of these stupid ghosts.
I'm coming.
But she's also going to heal you for 3 and draw a card. I have sometimes seen people drop her when she's not fully charged just to get a ward out, and while it's better than nothing if your alternative is just dying, I think in most cases that's such a misplay. Like, look in your hand and find something better, because I just don't even think she's worth a board slot if she's not 5 out of 5. I'm sure one of you will prove me wrong, but I have never seen that save somebody. Like, here's one you'll probably have access to around that time. So you can hard drop a Muse Jester, play it without Crystallize, and you will get a second Muse Jester. And if you've got a Shrine up as well, then that immediately becomes a huge wall that your opponent's probably going to have a tough time getting over, especially, again, if it's Ghost Shadow. And even if they just immediately blow it up, they had to spend resources to do it, which might keep them from killing you this turn. And I mean, half the battle in this meta is just getting to the next turn. What's typically going to be the combo that saves you, though, is Diamond Master Sapphire Priestess. So you want to play both of them, and then you want to evolve the Sapphire Priestess and use her effect on Diamond Master. Assuming they're the only 2 followers on the board, what's going to happen is Sapphire Priestess is going to give Diamond Master Storm and Ward, and then Diamond Master is going to give Sapphire Priestess Storm and Ward. And then what Diamond Master does is when she has Storm and Ward and she attacks, then her attack is going to instantly kill all of the followers on the opponent's board. So if you can, what you want to do is you want to attack your opponent directly with Diamond Master, and then their whole board will disappear as a result. And then you go ahead and attack with Sapphire Priestess, who's also going to hit pretty hard because you evolved her. So turn 6 can really go one of 2 ways. You gotta ask yourself, do I want to hold back resources to do a really big combo next turn and just put up enough of a wall that I don't immediately die when I hit fast turn here? Or do I want to try to hit my opponent so hard this turn that they spend their whole next turn recovering from it? And both of those strategies are going to be better in certain scenarios. So you just kind of need to feel out the game and determine what do you think your opponent is going to do on their next action. If you went first this game, then that's more often when you're going to want to just really lean in and pummel them so that they're too weak to really oppose you next turn. But typically if you went second, then you really want to put up some sort of defense before you let your opponent have another chance to go, because they've got a resource advantage on you and they're going to be able to start doing their turn 7 combos, which are typically a lot deadlier than anything you're going to see on turn 6. Now, if you don't have a reduced cost Skullfane yet, get it now, because we're going to need it. Just whatever you're able to charge Skullfane off of, just do it. It's not an automatic loss if you can't, but there is a very good chance that we're going to need him next turn. Although, if your opponent is at 16 health or lower, we can possibly go for a kill here and not worry about next turn. If you have a 3-cost Skullfane, then we can drop Skullfane, Diamond Master, and Wingy in that order. Wingy Wingy will give Diamond Master Storm and Ward, and then Diamond Master will give Skullfane Storm and Ward. Evolve any of them, doesn't matter who, and then with the Shrine effect, you're sending 16 damage downrange. And you may even want to do this even if it's not lethal. Just make sure you have another attack planned for turn 7 if it's not. But on turn 7, now we're in our end game, we can guarantee a kill as long as we have all of our pieces. Couple different ways to do this. Our best combo here is Jean, a 0-cost Skullfane, Diamond Master, and Wingy. If you somehow have not pulled a Shrine by this point, then in the previous turn, you're going to want to have put a Muse Jester on the board. That way, when you drop Skullfane, the Muse Jester will come out and be added to this combo. In order, you're going to drop Jean, Skullfane, Diamond Master, then Wingy. Jean is going to evolve once you drop your Diamond Master, and she'll smack the whole enemy board for 5. Wingy and Diamond Master are going to then give everybody Storm. If your opponent doesn't have any wards in place, then go straight to face with Jean, and this is going to evolve all of your dudes. If they do have wards that survive Jean's effect, then attack first with Diamond Master to clear them, then go face with Jean. But whenever possible, we always want to attack with Jean first for the free evolutions. Then just attack with everyone else, order doesn't really matter. It's straight up 26 damage if you combo perfectly, and it's almost unavoidable. It's absolutely bonkers. Other combos for if you don't have Jean would be like Skullfane, Diamond Master, Wingy, which you can actually do with one 3-cost Skullfane and one 0-cost, which is pretty doable. And that's going to be 23 damage if you evolve and have a Shrine, plus you heal for 8, so that's pretty substantial. Or we could do like Jean, Diamond Master, Azurite Maiden, Wingy, really any combo of Jean plus a 2-cost, a 1-cost, and Wingy, and that's gonna always be about 19 damage. So not quite lethal, but if you smacked him at any point earlier in the game, you're probably good. Notice that all of these involve Wingy. This is why you don't want to use Wingy early unless you absolutely have to. And the last combo I'm gonna mention here is any 3 of your 2-costs, so like 2 Diamond Masters and Sapphire Priestess, 2 Sapphire Priestess and a Diamond Master, or like 3 Diamond Masters, and then 1 Wingy. And if you've got your Shrine on the board, plus you evolve, that's going to be a respectable 13 damage, which can definitely close out a game if you got a few hits in earlier. So as far as desperation plays go, that's pretty solid. The final thing that I want to talk about is Jewel Shrine. This is a card that I initially slept on, but a friend convinced me that that was a misplay. So your options are really either this or Orchid's Examination Hall. And I feel like the previous meta left us all biased towards Orchids. So without Orchids, this card is guaranteed to draw Bejeweled Shrine for you, which is the main thing you're going to use it for. There are also situations where you'll be 5 out of 5 on Crystallize and you'll throw this out just to buff up a follower. I've had that be useful before, especially on games that go to turn 8. So for example, if you're doing the combo of Jean, Diamond Master, Azurite Maiden, Wingy, which is 19 damage, well now you can throw this on and it's 20, which is lethal. Don't hold on to it just for that specific situation though, because unless you do go to turn 8, you're usually not going to have an extra play point to spend on this thing, and it's going to be a lot more useful to you in the early game when you can use it to draw a card. But it does have that little bit of extra value in addition to making sure that you're going to get Bejeweled Shrine almost every single game, and so for that reason I think it's worth taking over Orchids. That is all I've got for today, guys. Thank you so much for watching. I have more content for both Shadowverse and Shadowverse Evolve coming, so please come back for that, and I will see you next time. See ya!
Get blasted, loser!